So, Glenn, we were just catching up a little bit, but I was specifically saying there are more things that I want to hear because it's been a while since we caught up. And yeah, so we can jump in and here's kind of like your progress, your journey, some of your story, and I think other people would really benefit actually. Not just appreciate, but I think people would genuinely benefit from hearing your story and some of the progress that you've made. So I would love to dig into all that, but um I'd like to just take a tiny step back and ask if you want to just introduce yourself briefly, and kind of, who you are, what you're working on now, and maybe people would find some benefit or at least interesting
Right.
as well.
Okay. Yeah, so well, my name's Glenn. I'm from the UK, living in Portugal, and I have spent a fair few years in all things sales and marketing, and then working with various companies, and then decided that I wanted to build something on my own, and that's what brought me to your course, Riley. And right now I am, this will make you laugh because it's typical me. I have a multiple, because of doing the course, I have multiple different opportunities. Now my problem has become which one of those to choose. Again, it's like a repeating cycle. So through getting that clarity on the program, it just opened more doors than I could possibly imagine.
Mm.
There's many different ways I can go, and to be brutally honest, I'm taking the next couple of weeks over Christmas to decide.
Yeah, it's
Going.
December 14th, at the time of us recording this. So that is very reasonable, I think. And hey, would love to continue the conversation after we're done recording. Maybe we can unpack some of those for you. But let's take a step back. So in terms of opening all these different doors, you said repeating cycle as well, but it makes it sound like there is this like level, like the like bigger, newer, better opportunities. So to be able to compare here, um, when we were first talking about joining this program, what like where were you at? Like where were you before joining the program?
So I had maybe three clients that I was doing sort of very different marketing tasks for within different industries, and a small amount of consulting for those clients as well. Um, and the only real way I was getting new clients was through referral or just getting lucky, just talking to someone and just getting lucky. And I had a bunch of different options on a way to go in order to scale what I was doing, or I had to choose one of them.
Mm.
Um, and the only thing getting in my way was me and the lack of clarity and focus that I had, and knowing which one to choose, which direction to go in, and then more importantly, what to do each day to make that happen.
Got it. So you had a few different clients. It even seems like within those few clients, the work was varying a little bit. Um,
A lot, yeah.
a lot of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your revenue, or was it all up and down? Like what was your revenue at that point?
It was varying because I was on a, well, for two of those clients, it was hourly. Um, so it was varying between 4,000 euros
Mhm.
and let's say 8,000.
Per month.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like 4 to 8K, and that's a bit of a range. And and today, what is your revenue at?
Oh, well, it hit 15
15. So you
last month. Yeah.
anywhere from like 3 to nearly 5x revenue in a matter of what was that, a couple months?
I think it took a month to 2x.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it took 4 weeks to 2x. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. And then maybe it, maybe week 10 of the program was when I hit the peak.
Got it. So I'd like to circle back to that, but I want to make sure. So, like, going back to when you were at that anywhere from 4 to 8K range, um, what was like? I'm kind of curious, like, where your head was at. Like, what was the most like frustrating part of being at that stage when you before you joined?
I knew that all that don't get me wrong, that amount of revenue was reasonable, but not what I had in mind for my longer term goals.
Mm,
The most frustrating thing was it felt like I had no time because the work that I was doing was very time consuming. And I couldn't see a way out of that.
yeah, the picture that comes to mind to me so often, I think we've talked about this before too, is that like that hamster wheel where it's just like you just can't get ahead. There's no leverage. There's no like, and so it that's what's coming up for me again, like hearing like that feeling, the no time. So what if you were in that place, like what was it? Was maybe this is even just more for me. I'm curious, like what was the specific reason or reasons for why you decided to actually get on a call to talk about the program in the first place, and what led you to decide to actually buy?
Okay, so it was because I had worked with you before, and I knew, as you said to me, people had began to call you the clarity coach. From knowing you before, I knew that when I speak to you, I get clarity because you look at everything and you're very good at finding that clarity. Um, sorry, what was the question?
And what made you so it seemed like there was some rapport relationship
Yeah.
history
What
that led
made
you
me do
to
it?
booking the
Yeah,
call, and then what pushed
yeah.
you over the edge though, to because like to be honest, and this is for people that are currently in the program as well, like one of the questions that comes up a lot is like, well, how do we build that relationship? And the truth is like I have lots of friends and family and people that would never join my program, and I wouldn't ask or want them to. So like what for your specific situation, like relationship aside, like there was some sort of rapport built there, but what made you decide like to take interest in the program specifically, and then also decide um to buy and to join?
It was, well, in my own personal situation, it was that because I'd spent so long doing marketing and for other people, I had all these different tactics, all these different ways of doing them, and I was trying to do them all. And I knew that by doing the program and specifically working with you, that I would very quickly have clarity and focus and a workflow to know exactly what to do every day. And I'm good when that is put in front of me in that way. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to do it. Do it every day. That
Yeah,
is what I was looking for.
yeah.
And
So
I knew that was what I was missing.
got it. So had you tried anything? I don't know if we've actually talked about this. Had you like you had a lot of knowledge and different things that you were experimenting with or implementing or trying, but had you ever looked at any other like coaches or programs or courses?
I'd done a bunch before, but
Yeah.
I always used whatever I was taught for my clients.
So what was different about this one that made it different for you to actually use it for yourself to get like what do you think made the difference for you to get that? I guess moving into like we're talking about during the program.
Because it was specific to the point that I was at. So that's something if somebody's looking for a program, or if I'm looking for a program, I'm looking for the match in terms of where I'm at.
Mm.
Whereas before I was looking for where my clients are at when I was doing a course, because I wanted to learn the information to implement for them.
So this makes me think of a different kind of question, because I'm genuinely curious. Like, how did you know that this was a fit for where you were at? And can you help to, like, for people that are watching this, can you help describe like exactly what was your mindset, like where it's like you've been trying things for months, like you've been building, like you had a skill set. It's not like you're starting from scratch.
Yeah, it was the well, I've already said it, but the clarity and focus, and the fact that I had all these different options, or somebody may have may not be aware of the options, but immediately you are given a tools that you can implement straight away to move closer to having that clarity. The missing clarity was the problem.
Mm.
Um,
With that clarity, sorry, I don't. Did you have
yeah,
something else to add to that?
go.
I'm curious, like diving into like when you were in the program then, because like four weeks is pretty quick, dude. Like that's to 2x your revenue, and then get almost up to 5x, 4x we'll say in 10 weeks. Um, and then it just opened up all these other doors, and we can talk about that in a second. But what was like what specifically about or in the program? Like, was there a specific module or tool or content or like, feature? Like, what was like the most valuable for you?
The most valuable was the way of networking, the way of doing outreach on social media, which I'd never done before in that exact way. And also the CRM which you built, which we used in the program. I've used a lot of CRMs, and that was perfect for exactly what this is.
Got it. Yeah, I have also used a lot of CRMs, and it can just be like feature overload, overwhelm. And this, so kind of like what you said, like when you're used to doing everything as a solopreneur, like one man band, the design of it really was to help you to focus on just the few things that are going to move the needle. And it seems like you took that and ran with it. You're just like, I'm gonna.
Yeah. So I knew because I knew that's what my problem was. I just didn't know which thing to choose. So as soon as I was given it's like a dog with a bone. As soon as I was given it, okay, I'm not going to stop. I'm finished.
The path. Yeah. Well, so along that path, or while you're chewing the bone, if we go with that analogy, what was there any specific like aha moment or breakthrough or like biggest takeaway that you were like, this is it, like a pivotal moment for you?
6 to 7 times higher reply rates messaging people from what I was doing before.
Wow.
And when I was then speaking to those people, they were better qualified and easier to talk to and therefore sell to.
That's nuts. Yeah, that's a big difference, big ROI.
I know it's 6 to 7 times because of all the tracking, and because I then the clients I already had, I started using the same tactics with them.
Yep.
And they were a bit unsure at first, so I said 6 to 7 times more replies. You'll see. you know.
It's pretty cool to hear. Like, I think that's one of the best things about like, this from my perspective, like selfishly I don't even know if I'd use that word, but like I love the fact that like not only did you go through the program in less than a month, you got a return on, not only a return on your investment, but like you 2x your monthly revenue, and went on to double that again. But the impact that then you have, like you were able to take things, use them for yourself, but not only that, like within your business as well, for other people. So I think that's That's awesome. So I'm curious, like fast forwarding a little bit, um, like having gone through the program, because that was, a bit over 3 months. We're looking at 3 to 4 months ago, when it kicked off for you. Like where are you at? Like where are you at now? Like how do you feel about your work now? How do you personally feel? Like what's, I guess, those two kind of things, like both your business and then you
I
personally.
feel free to experiment and set new goals.
Mm,
Yeah. Um, yeah, it opened up a lot of different doors.
yeah.
So, and this is because, so there was two things that happened. First of all, I'm also doing a podcast, and I started using that in conjunction with some of the things you taught in the program, which then allowed me to have very interesting conversations with lots of different people, both in person and online, which opened up a lot of different doors. And secondly, I think my revenue would be 3 or 4 times higher if my girlfriend wasn't around to tell me to drop the bone. Because I was like a dog with a bone, and if there's no, I would have continued until I got to the point where it was just too overwhelming, and she sort of said to me, "Why don't you just chill? You can chill now."
Yeah.
So it's allowed me to chill. It's allowed me to take stock and then decide what's next.
That is beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that, because that was just that's so aligned with what my intention, like with my own values, but like what I, really hope for anyone that I ever work with, or even don't, just that come in contact with, is really, like we talk about, the going through the different gears and being able to put the foundations in place. And that's, in my opinion, it's like that's the beautiful part of it, is that like you get through the first gear, you get through that first step, you doubled, we're getting close to 4 or 5x your revenue, and then but now you have the choice, and it sounds like your life outside of work, like you decided to prioritize that and set up some boundaries. And like, so does your day to day, like your lifestyle, look any different, or what else is?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Interestingly, I'm working less.
That's awesome.
Um,
How much less? If you do, you happen to know? I don't know if you track that as
well,
well.
before it was all day, every day, at least 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm very strict with my time, I can be done by 2 p.m. and go surfing. But
Well,
again, that's only because my girlfriend told me to stop, because otherwise I would have just gone, how much can I do on 7 days a week?
it sounds like we should maybe credit her to some of your for some of your success, and especially day to day. So yeah, you're feeling free. It seems just like you have the freedom of choice. And what's nuts is, before you had all these choices in front of you, and that actually was the very thing that was like almost crippling you in a way, or holding you back, maybe is a better way of putting it. And now you have, again, all these choices, but it seems like the feeling has completely changed. You're now like empowered, you have autonomy, and that, I don't know if maybe that is connected to that freedom word that you used.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Autonomy for sure is a massive thing. And freedom. Yeah.
So a couple last questions here. I'm curious, um, for other people that, again, are watching this, and maybe they're, or even if you were to think back to yourself, like let's say 4 months ago, if knowing what you know now, and if you were to tell someone else who doesn't know what you know now, and they were on the fence about, booking a call, to talk about the program and see if it's a fit for them, or if they're just, on the fence in general about joining the program, what would you say to your past self, or to, to those people?
What I would say to those people is, if you're even watching this or considering it, then do it. Because the fact that you're umming and ahhing about it tells me that you need it. Tells me that you need that clarity and focus, and you won't regret it.
Got it. So, what is next? What is next for you? What are your next to all these doors that are being opened? What are some of the doors? What are your plans?
There is, just because of the fact that, part of the program, the networking element of it, which obviously you can hone that and focus that into selling a particular product or service that you have, or also developing that product or service or that offer that you have. But whilst doing that, as I started to increase my revenue, I became less discriminate with who I was talking to, in terms of, is this person an ideal client, or do I just want to talk to this person? So I spoke to a lot of different people, and there's potentially 4 or 5 different types of business opportunities which have been offered to me, or I've had the idea of, by speaking to these people. Too much to go into now, but I'm sure we'll talk about that once the recording's up.
It's just like the most wild thing, though, because like I struggled with a lot of the same things, like, before, years ago, starting my first businesses, and the language that we use even is like we talk about niching down, or like nailing down your niche. But the crazy thing is, like, once you do that, part of the reason is it enables you to start, like, you got really focused. And I think a lot of people don't want to narrow their focus because they don't want to like lose out on all the opportunities.
Yeah.
But you are just like a living, breathing example of someone who narrowed their focus, and it created all the
that's exactly what
counterintuitive. Yeah.
That's exactly what happens. And the thing is, I knew all this. I was saying that to clients all the time. I just wasn't doing it myself.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it works. The more you narrow it down, the quicker that 0 to 1 or 1 to 2 will be, and then everything opens up.
Yeah.
The way I do it is like a rocket blasting off. It's very hard to leave the Earth's orbit. The ride can be uncomfortable, but you've got to be pointed in the right direction. And then when you break out, it's just like, right now I'm floating around space.
Well,
look at the stars.
That sounds like a great launch point, or a point for us to leave things off. But I do want, because you mentioned your podcast, you mentioned some of the work you do. If anyone went through our program, or they're thinking about it, and they do want to like check out your podcast or some of the work that you do, and maybe continue on, maybe check you out and see if it's a fit for them as well, where can they find you, find the work you're doing, find your podcast? What's the best place for people to look?
Yeah, so the podcast started about 6 months ago. It's called The Human Edge, and you can find that on Spotify, The Human Edge.
Cool.
That's it for now.
Yeah, maybe we'll circle back in another 6 months and see what these open doors turned into. But really, really excited for you, and all the open doors, and thanks so much for taking the time to share some of your story for other people to hear as well.
No worries. Anytime.
Cool. Thanks, Glenn.